Hello, welcome to another video. Today we are talking about the worst books I read in 2021 and disappointments of 2021. This is a sad video. I don't like making this video. Who likes making this video? Who likes talking about books that they hate? I mean, sometimes. Like, if it's really bad. But yeah, today is a bit of a sort of video. I've got my core pile spreadsheet up here because going through them, a lot of these ones I have actually unhauled. So I'm not going to be holding books up because I don't have them. I have a few of them still, I think, but most of them I don't. So I'm just going to pop them up here for you. So let's just get on with it. Sorry that this one's a bit low, but you know, you're all curious. Everyone's a little curious, aren't they? And everyone likes a whinge once in a while. But of course, nothing personal to any of these books or any of these authors. Or if you love these books, I am thrilled for you. They were just not for me personally. And just because I didn't like them doesn't mean that you won't. Doesn't mean they're bad books. In fact, let's kick this off with the first book I want to talk about, which is one of my best friend's favourite books ever. So, Keeper of the Lost Cities by Shannon Messenger. I hated this book so much, but it is Prissa's favourite book ever, so that just goes to show that just because I hate it doesn't mean it's bad, and there are people out there that do love them. Keeper of the Lost Cities by Shannon Messenger. This was January's middle grade monthly book for last year, and I hated it. I hated it so very much. It was everything I didn't like. The chosen one trope in that just went 7,000 notches too high for me. I felt like there was no point to reading that book because our main character, whose name I've completely forgotten already, but our main character, who was the chosen one, was already so perfect at everything, and any obstacle that she came up against, she knew the solution to. Whether she, was consciously aware she knew the solution, or just because she's the chosen one, it was already implanted into her brain that she knew the solution to everything. So there were no high stakes in this, because you just knew that as the chosen one, she would get out of everything, she would have the solution to everything, nothing would have any consequence for her, and it just wound me up something rotten. I did not enjoy this book at all. Also, I think the world building was very confusing, and there were many times throughout reading that book where I was just completely thrown out by, I don't know, the word choice or the way the world was described, and it was just like, not it for me. And there were certain choices that were made and things that happened that just didn't have any thought behind them, or it felt like it didn't have any thought behind them. There's one particular thing that I'm thinking of that should have been a big thing, but our main character, because she's the chosen one and wants to just go off to this magical world, she's just like, yeah, okay. And it's like, really? I did not like that book in the slightest, so there's number one. But I know a lot of people that really do enjoy that one, and this is no personal attack on them or a personal attack on the book. There is still potential for you to enjoy that one too. I just really didn't. Another one I'm gonna kind of touch on here is Red Rising by Pierce Brown. I know a lot of people that love this one. It is a lot of people's favourites. People adore those books. I did not. I really did not. The characters were very bland and meh. The logic was pretty for me. I didn't care. I just didn't care. And I wanted to care. I do have to give that one some credit. It wasn't as bad as Keeper of the Lost Cities. It got 3 stars in the end from me, but just deserved a little bit of a mention as one I have unhauled, and was, more than it being the worst book ever, I was just really disappointed by that one because I wanted to love it as much as everyone else did, and I just really didn't. And then the same thing happened with Golden Sun as well, the sequel. I wanted that to be able to, like, grip me, and for it to be like, okay, the first book didn't get it, but the second book did. That wasn't the case. So I haven't continued from book 2. I'm done with the Red Rising series. And I'm really disappointed by it, but it is what it is. Next one in the red zone on my spreadsheet is Fortuna Sworn. And again, I know a lot of people that love this. I have friends that absolutely adore this book. I'm looking at you, Becca and Ashley. Friends that love this and think it's amazing. It was not for me. I did not like that book. And not just because I don't like romance and I'm not a romance reader, like, it wasn't that. Because I can. Take A Court of Silver Flames, for example. Great. Look, great might be taking it too far, but, like, I read that and enjoyed it and can see its merits. Fortuna Sworn, I'm really sorry, but I just can't. Every time something happened in that, like, literally every time something happened, I was more referring to anything, like, romancy. But it was just uncomfortable. The romance was uncomfortable. I didn't believe the relationships at all. There was one particular scene, the bathtub scene, if you know, you know, but oh my god, did that make me uncomfortable. And not just because it's a sexual scene, like, again, I read A Court of Silver Flames and was fine with that, like, it's not that. It's just the fact that it came out of nowhere, had no chemistry, and just felt uncomfortable in every sense. So yeah, that was not one for me. Also, the rest of the plot, in my opinion, was just confusing and unnecessary. But I know a lot of people that loved that one as well, but I didn't. Another one I want to mention is This Is How You Lose the Time War. This one got a 3-star from me, so again, not a terrible book, but one I was just really disappointed by because I wanted to love it, and I didn't love it. Like, I didn't hate it, but I wanted to really love it, and I just really didn't. I was so confused for so much of that book, and this could very well be a case of this being a me thing and I'm just too dumb to understand it. I'll hold my hands up if that's the case, which it very well could be. I just didn't get it. I didn't get it. I was confused for most of it. When I say I didn't get it, like, I got it. I knew what was happening and the two people in the time war. I got it, but I just didn't get it. Do you know what I mean? Next up, I have probably the most unpopular opinion I have ever come out on the internet with, which is I didn't like Pages & Co. Tilly and the Book Wanderers. That one got 2 stars from me. So I mean, not the worst. I do still have it. I am planning on reading the sequel just to see if it gets better, but Pages & Co. just was not it for me. The whole time reading that, I was just waiting for the plot to happen, and then it was the end of the book, and the plot hadn't happened. I just felt like it was a massive waste of my time. And again, I know this is a massively popular book. Just saying, again, my opinions are not the right opinions. It's all just opinion. Just because I didn't like it doesn't mean you won't. And I am going to give the sequel another go, so there's chance for redemption here. But I just was so bored reading Tilly and the Book Wanderers. Like, it's got such a great premise for being something that I would probably really enjoy. A young girl discovers that she can wander through fictional worlds, and she can bring fictional characters out of books, and she can go and have adventures in books. Like, she can go and hang out with Alice in Wonderland. It's got such a great potential. And I just was so bored waiting for the point. And I still don't really know what the point was. Well, I mean, until the very end there was a point, but like, what was the point in the rest of the book? You know? Anyway, I will give the sequel a go on that one, but an unpopular opinion from me for sure. To throw some DNFs in here, Falling Kingdoms by Morgan Rhodes. I was disappointed in DNFing this one, but I couldn't handle the incest. I just couldn't handle the incest. I've been told that that doesn't continue, and that that's not a thing for very long, but I couldn't handle the incest at the beginning. I was uncomfortable reading it, didn't want to read it anymore, so I stopped. It feels illegal to put this on this list, but again, this isn't a worst book, this is a disappointment for me, and sadly that is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. It got 3 stars. Not terrible. Not a worst book at all, but just a disappointment to me personally. Again, it was one that I wanted to love. I know so many people that do love it. It's so beloved by so many people, and I just didn't fall in love with it. As I say, 3 stars, not terrible, but I was definitely bored for a good portion of it. I preferred the present day elements of that. So The Name of the Wind, if you don't know, is about Kvothe telling his life story. So it's 3 days in his tavern as he recounts his entire life story. So we've got like the present day of Kvothe in the tavern telling the story, and then we've got the past tense of the story that he's telling. I much preferred the present day elements where we would get a little peek into them in the tavern sitting around telling the story. I much preferred that element of it than the actual telling of the story. And something that happened at the very end of that in the present day timeline, oh, brilliant. But there was just too much of the past tense, too much of him telling his story in such detail that I just felt like I didn't have the time for. So I was very disappointed by that one. I will read the sequel to that. I will at some point. Obviously, no one knows when the 3rd book is coming yet, so maybe I'll hold off on that. It's definitely not a priority for me, but I will at some point. But yeah, I was disappointed that I didn't love The Name of the Wind as much as everybody else, and their mother does. And my mother loved it. We have one book here that I kind of rage read, and I rage read it for a vlog that I then scrapped, so you never even saw me rage read it. But Kingdom of the Wicked by Kerri Maniscalco. Oh my god, I hated that book. I hated that book so much. 1 star. Absolutely hated it. Think it's garbage. Again, I know a lot of people that like it. I know people that absolutely adore it, and I know that it's been a pretty beloved book, actually, with the sequel, and a lot of people getting excited about the sequel for it, but holy shit, I did not like that book at all, and I definitely rage read to the very end of that. I don't even think I could tell you what it is about it that I didn't like, because it was everything. I just really did not like that book. I can't even pinpoint what that is. I think the characters were garbage. I was not a fan of the writing. The atmosphere, did it have one? I suppose it did in places, but no. Logic? What logic? And I just didn't enjoy myself in the slightest. Wasn't intrigued. Really had to like rage read my way through that. I should have DNF'd it. I really should have DNF'd that one. But I didn't. I finished it and I hated it, so 1 star. A big disappointment for me this year, and I'm really sad to say it, is Witch Shadow by Susan Dennard. I was really excited about Witch Shadow. I did the whole Witchlands along to build up to Witch Shadow. I was fully anticipating Witch Shadow was going to be my favourite book of the Witchlands. It's a Zylt's book, so it was destined to be my favourite book of the Witchlands series, but no, it was such a letdown. I was so disappointed when reading that book, and I'm still bitter about it. I saw people reading it before me being like, oh yeah, it's the best one yet, and my expectations were soaring, and it was the worst one yet. I really did not like Witch Shadow. I'm super disappointed. I will continue that series because I am invested in that series at this point, like it's the 4th book, but man, for a Zylt's book, I really wanted something so much better than what we got, so Witch Shadow got a thumbs down from me too. And then let's end on a positive of another DNF. That was a lie, this isn't positive. But yeah, let's end on a DNF, and one that I'm still upset about, and one that I think I could potentially go back to at some point, but I'm gutted by this. But Storm of Echoes by Christelle DeBose, the 4th book in the Mirror Visitor Quartet, the Winter's Promise series. I loved Winter's Promise. I loved The Missing of Claire de Lune. I still think The Missing of Claire de Lune's my favourite from that series. The Memory of Babel was great. And then the 4th book, Storm of Echoes, just wasn't. And I heard this from people that had read it in French or German or all of the other languages that were released before English was. I heard a lot of people saying like it was disappointing and don't expect too much from it, and I was very much like, oh, but you know, that I love the other books. Like, I love the other books a lot, so surely it can't be that bad. And oh my god, I can't believe I DNF'd it. I was so excited about that book. It was such an anticipated release for me, and I DNF'd it like 100 pages away from the end, I want to say. Maybe a little more than that. Like, between 100 and 200 pages away from the end. Because I just felt like the plot was going around in circles. I felt like we were on a journey to an answer, and we came so close to an answer, and then we just skirted off. And at that point I was like, nah, I'm done at this point. Like, you have avoided giving me any sort of satisfaction in this book, and it's the last book in a series, and we were so close, and I just gave up. Will I go back to it at some point? Maybe. Just to finish it off and get those answers, but I'm still bitter about it at this point, so it's still sitting on my shelf with a bookmark in DNF status, and I'm really, really upset about it. So when I'm over that, I'll go back to it, but I'm not over it yet. Anyway, there we go. There's your daily dose of negativity. I hope you enjoyed. If you've read any of these books and you adore them, again, this is just my opinion, and I know that there are people out there that do love these books. I just wasn't one of them. But yeah, if you agree with me on any of these books, feel free to let me know. That would be pretty cool to see that I'm not alone. But yeah, otherwise, thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed, give us a thumbs up, chat to me down below, all that jazz. But yeah, I will see you in whatever comes next. Bye!